FYI, Sammy, I never wear pants when I do this
Yeah.
show. It's just boxers and a t-shirt. So I don't know if you wanted to know that. Welcome to Sports Savage from sunny Los Angeles, California. I'm your host, Garrett Savage, and I'm joined, as always, by the smooth talking Sammy from Orlando, Florida. What's up, man?
Yo, 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 sports fan, sports world, how we doing?
Doing good. Are we talking to me or are you talking to them?
I'm always talking to you, Savage.
All right. Anyway, we're recording a little later than usual. I was on a date tonight, and I was telling Sammy about it. But as I was saying earlier, in California, Southern California in particular, the women are on a different level. I mean, Orlando's got some pretty good, I would say some pretty decent women there because it's variety. There's a variety here, and especially in Southern California. Like, I'll be in school and I'll walk past a woman and I'll say, that's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life. And then I get depressed because I'm ugly and I'm like, I'll never get with her. And then an hour later, I see another one. And it's like, well, maybe I got a shot here. But so come to LA and ugly guys like me even get dates. Anyway, we're going to bring up Thursday night football. Eagles, Packers. The Eagles fly into Lambeau, win 34-27 off a late interception. Nigel Bradham, heard it pronounced both ways, Florida State. I think that was a much needed win. Eagles, they were not starting out good. I don't like the Packers, so I'm very happy to see that they lost. A lot of people are saying, Packers, where's this offense at? Where's their offense? Their defense didn't show up tonight. What do you think about the game?
Well, let's say this. How about good job for the first actual entertaining Thursday night game of the season. It was well paced. If you're an Eagles fan, you're happy that Wentz showed up in a primetime moment for the first time this season, looking more like his rookie campaign than the latter. Matt LaFleur, Aaron Rodgers issues are going to start early. There's going to be a lot of hot takes going into the weekend about that Packers offense to goal line stands by Philly defense. That's a little shaky. But all in all, very entertaining game.
Yeah, I saw bits and pieces of it. Of course, Jimmy Graham was riding my bench on one of my fantasy leagues. I can't win with tight ends, man. Like, I'll play one, and then the guy on the bench always balls out. So I don't know the reason for that. If I'm a Packers fan, it's like, or if I'm even Aaron Rodgers, you've been there for so long, and they really haven't built you a team. They've given you bits and pieces. Packers aren't a team that's going to go out for the big free agent. They tend to, be a little more conservative. I mean, how much longer do you see Aaron Rodgers in the Packers uniform?
Well, Savage, I mean, that's the thing. If he's smart, he's going to retire a Packer just for the legacy points alone. But that was their approach this year. They signed a lot of not big name free agents, but some key free agent pieces. They spent the money. They did a lot of drafting on the defensive side of the ball the past several years with the draft. So this is supposed to be the culmination of all of those picks with those signings with Aaron Rodgers in his prime with the new young coach. And I was looking pretty good until you faced a somewhat defeated Eagles team at home. So that's the biggest question mark is everybody was very hot on Green Bay going into this game. So it's a big win for Philly, but definitely leaves Aaron with a couple of question marks about that defense as well as that coaching staff.
Yeah, Green Bay sucks. That's not biased.
I wonder why.
Not biased. I just think they blow just because I think they were the most inflated 3-0 team there was, in my opinion. I mean, I don't see enough spark. I don't see enough pizzazz. I do like Darnell Savage though. He's got a cool last name.
I wonder why.
Anyway, you said you had something to bring up NFL wise, Sammy. Hit me with it.
Yeah. So hot take alert. So I'm hearing a lot of pundits on the major networks, the motherships, hyping up a lot of black quarterbacks, finally giving some recognition to some signal callers who look more like myself than yourself, and saying that it's a new era. And I want to bring praise to the young men who are out there, changing the game, making plays out there. But I also want to bring awareness to why that's the case. I don't think it's this culmination of gatekeepers and general managers looking at the black quarterback as something that's been slighted or something that's been held back. And just quite frankly, they realize if you want to win fucking games, you want to have the most athletic guys out there, even if it is at the quarterback position. So we've always been able to make the throws. I say we like I played quarterback. I just wanted to get it out there that it's not something that really could have been avoided if you want to win football games. If you haven't noticed, there's a lot of guys out there on Sundays who again, we look more like myself than yourself. So it was only a matter of time before the quarterback position was taken over. And I don't think it's something that should be celebrated, more so something questioned going into the new millennium that we're still talking about how great it is to have black quarterbacks.
I think I saw a stat. I mean, there's, 7 or 8 black quarterbacks starting in the NFL, something like that. I mean, a lot, and it's great. And I saw something with your boy on the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, today. People are giving him shit. They're like, well, why don't you run more? You wouldn't ask Baker Mayfield that. You wouldn't ask, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. You wouldn't ask them that, To their point, Lamar Jackson did run a lot in college, which helped him win the Heisman. But when you see a guy who can throw like that, I mean, the run is just a luxury at that point. Like, if you can drop dimes, and Lamar isn't there yet, but he is he could be another Mahomes. Like, he could be that kind of guy who's just like ultimate playmaker, a lanky Vic. You know what I'm saying? Like a guy who could just make plays all over the field. And I got something to say on top of that.
Let's hear it.
People, the running back position's been predominantly, African American.
Like all positions.
People like me carrying the rock, taking it down the field. Rex Burkhead, the guy who
White Hope
on the cover of Madden 10 years ago, that guy too. We're coming.
Young Thielen. Don't forget about Young Thielen.
We're coming for that speed and we're coming for that need, okay? So watch out. People like me, we're going to be taking it to the top. All right, we got an ad read. That NFL segment was brought to you by Just for Men, Antonio Brown edition. You want to look like an asshole with a blonde mustache? Well, he's got it for you. Mustaches, beards, pubic hair, whatever you need to look blonde and long, Antonio Brown's Just for Men is for you. Okay, so G-League. They're going to start doing one free throw, depending on if it was a 2-pointer or a 3-pointer. Basketball is actually a pretty fast sport. I think the only thing that does slow it down is the free throw. And I think if you ask the players, they prefer the free throw just so they can get a breath. If you ask the fan, they probably want to see the game going. I mean, I don't hate it. I don't know if I love it. I think I got to see it to believe it. What's your take?
I have no idea where this is coming from. I really don't like it whatsoever. I'm trying to figure out who's actually been saying that the game of basketball needs to be sped up. If anything, let's do something about these commercial timeouts. Oh, wait, not going to touch the big $1 million, billion-dollar advertisers. It just doesn't add up to me. If I'm taking a 3 and I'm fouled on the 3, am I being rewarded by then giving a simpler shot at the free throw line for the same amount of points? So that's really going to change the way that you defend the 3-point line. And with the up fakes or the ability to pump fake a defender and get them up in the air, it's really going to change defense as a whole. I feel like it doesn't make sense to either reward the offensive player for taking a deeper shot and being fouled by giving them a closer free throw unguarded. And on the defensive side, you're almost dictating how I go about playing defense if I know a shooting foul is only going to equal 1 shot versus giving them the chance to take more than 1 shot and miss those shots.
No, and I think, when you think about basketball IQs, people like James Harden, who's a master of getting fouled, like what if he just spends a whole summer working free throws and then, I mean, you could rack up a lot of points. So I guess, in 2 facets, they think, well, 1, this will speed up the game, and 2, we'll get more scoring, because, it wasn't enough for teams to score 120 points last season. 140, 150, we were in the points era where it be basketball, where it be football. We want to see scoring. We don't want to see.
Everyone loves a shootout.
And people have talked about, the 3-point shot is almost a cheat code for some teams, like Golden State, this, that, and the other thing. And I thought it was very interesting. Someone brought up, if you go to a baseball field, right, you can change how big the field is, where the home runs start, how many people are in there. So there's discussions of if you go to an opposing court, they choose where the 3-point line is, or they say there's no 3-point line. It's just like in Boston where they got the green monster. You got to hit the home run over that. Go to Golden State, you got to shoot a three, at the half-point line maybe, just to have that home field advantage. Or if you're a brawler team, you know what? We don't want a 3-point line. We want you in the paint. We want you there. What do you think about that? Moving the movable 3-point line.
I see evolutions to the game. I don't see it really going that far. We love the deep shot, so I could definitely see a 4-point line. I'm definitely hearing rumbles of that. You have some players out there who in warm-ups and a lot in practice are taking shot attempts 1, 2, 3 feet behind the regulation 3-point line. So something a little more along those lines, adding a 3 as well as a 4-point line just to kind of spice things up or innovate the game. I can see coming. And I'm not going to take that 3 away. It's a moneymaker. Everyone throws them up. You're getting about 63 a game in between the two teams. So I don't really see the 3 going anywhere. If anything, they're going to expand on it. I also don't see this free throw line free throw rule making it out of the G-League. It's very experimental. Not to sound any type of ism, but it sounds a little European to me. So I just don't see it sticking in the NBA.
I don't know. I guess we'll find out. It's interesting, we're trying to change the game up. All right, this segment was supposed to be Tony's Baseball Roundup. He didn't send me anything.
Wow.
Nothing. He goes, okay, I'm going to work. And this wasn't like I told him an hour ago. I told him like morning. Like right before class. Like it was before noon.
This is Tony's Baseball Roundup. Only 3 games left for most teams this year. So let's look at the standings. In the American League, we have the New York Yankees, Minnesota Twins, and Houston Astros have all clinched their division. The American League wild card is still up for grabs, with Oakland A's 1 game up on the Tampa Bay Rays and 2 games up on the Cleveland Indians. Now the National League. The Atlanta Braves and Los Angeles Dodgers have clinched their respective divisions. While the Central Division is still up for grabs, with St. Louis 1 game up on the Milwaukee Brewers. The winner gets the division, the loser gets the Washington Nationals in the 1-game wild card playoff. Next week, I hope to break down the playoffs for you. But this is the year of the home run. 4 teams have already passed the single-season home run mark of 267 set last year by the New York Yankees. Pitching will still be the main aspect of the playoffs. And that was Tony's Baseball Roundup.
What is it going to take for you to watch baseball, Sammy? I have a few ideas on what I think would make me want to watch it, but like, what would it take for you to be like a baseball fan?
Whew, that's a great question. I mean, we could start with speed of game. I don't think it's a little overhyped. I feel like it's definitely a real issue, but I don't think it's the major issue. It's just it's not an appeasing game. It's a lot of stoppage. You got your outfielders just standing out there waiting on something to happen, just like everyone else sitting in the stands. I don't know. It would take a lot. I would say this: the home run, the long ball. Chicks dig the long ball. That's what you hear. They're hitting more home runs than they ever have in the entire history of the MLB, and ratings are still down. So where do you go from here? They're striking out at an amazing rate too. I'm hearing it's either a strikeout or a home run these days, and people still aren't watching. So I don't feel like that's a question I can answer simply because I don't think MLB can answer it. I think maybe if you're in a ballpark live, there's definitely a feeling or a vibe that you can kind of catch of enjoyment, but just watching it from a television perspective is just dreadful.
It is. I mean, in the West Coast, like, I didn't know this, but like, it's a huge like LA is a big baseball town. Like, it's probably the #1 sport in Los Angeles. It's Dodgers. You Dodgers fan? You like to watch the Dodgers? No, I don't like to watch the Dodgers. I don't like to watch baseball. It's so boring. But I mean, I have a few ideas on what I think could make baseball a little more interesting.
Here.
At 7 innings or 9 innings. The
Too
fact
long.
you have the 7th inning stretch where they let everybody stretch, not even fans. It's like an intermission in a play, you know? It's like, okay, like if we need a stretch break, we're probably sitting here too. I think if you can score 5 runs in an inning and then the other team doesn't score anything, game over.
It's a wrap.
That's it. Bottom line, well, I paid for the ticket. Well, guess what? That's it. End of the game. 5 runs, you're out of there. 3. I want to put some lights on the ball, lights on the bat. You know what I'm saying? Make a little flashier. Make it something I can look at. You know, hits the ball.
I like that.
Or like something explodes. I don't know, something like that. Let's see. 4. More fighting. I want to see more punching. You know, and I am not an advocate for violence. Like, in fact, I think in hockey that they're allowed to fight. I think that's a little ridiculous. Like, it's a sport. Like, you couldn't do that in football. You couldn't do that but it's hockey. And it's
Hockey.
guys, and they're tough and blah, blah, blah.
Real man. Yeah.
Anyway, there should be fights in baseball. You know, like you should be able to like if I don't know, like if you hit a home run, you should be able to fight the pitcher, and whoever punches each other out, you know, get that. That's the person who gets the home run or they're out. But I mean, you know, baseball, it's the problem with baseball is it's rooted in tradition, and traditions are hard to break. No one wants to let that go. I mean, you can, like, the rise of soccer in America is coming, and we can all see that. You know, I think it's becoming a lot more interesting. I think soccer will eventually overtake, you know, it'll probably be our second sport. You know, football's already.
Wow.
It's America's pastime, you know, American football. But I see soccer. I think it's going to be there eventually, you know, with all these, you know, teams we have. MLS has never been as hot as it is right now.
True. That's a scorching take, though. I must admit, that's a scorching take. The pastime will be surpassed by the non-American football. I mean, I'm a soccer guy. I really enjoy the beautiful game, but that's a pretty interesting take. I can't say I disagree, but man, do you think your grandfather's grandfather would ever think they see the day where that football would overtake that baseball?
And obviously, it's not going to happen overnight, but, you know, our American team is slowly getting, I mean, this Christian Pulisic guy, like,
he's the truth.
Paid $80 million or something like that to pay for a team, you know, overseas. But, you know, I mean, we've talked about this. The men's team's a joke. What do you think? How do we fix the American team?
How do we get soccer into the inner city? How do we get soccer to the less privileged youth? You don't think Deshaun Watson would be an amazing soccer player? You don't think Lamar Jackson would be an amazing soccer player? To your point, you don't think Christian McCaffrey, maybe not to the whole circumstantial or financial reasoning, you don't think athletes like Christian McCaffrey would be great soccer players? It's just not something that our youth is gravitating towards or interested in, because it's not that accessible. You have to find academies, you have to find camps, you have to find close to, this is gonna quote my soccer experience, but I believe it's close to 11 on 11. So you gotta find close to 22 kids to play real deal soccer. So it's not really something that if you don't have some money or you can drive to practice every day or every other day or every week, it's not really going to be something that you can play when you can just go find a ball and dribble it outside or toss it out in the backyard.
We're going to pivot to college basketball. Kansas got hit with lack of institutional control, which is typically the go-to for powerhouse teams. The NCAA sent notice of allegations to Kansas Monday, dealing multiple level 1 violations that could lead to school vacating significant achievements and enduring a postseason ban, while its Hall of Fame coach faces career-altering punishments. Let's be honest, Sammy, if they did a deep dive into every major program, Duke included, I'm sure they could have some kind of lack of institutional control. Right? Wrong? I don't know. You tell me.
Oh, absolutely right. I think this is just the first shoe to drop, probably in a closet in a Foot Locker. There's going to be a lot of schools who are going to get some indictments, who are going to have some coaches resign, or at least have some really awkward press conferences. When you're in bed with these shoe companies and they're paying portions of your salaries or providing you with paid sponsorships, it's kind of hard for me to believe that these coaches are so naive to that they don't understand how these players really end up in these institutions.
I mean, and we talked in our first episode. We talked about it's obvious that kids are getting paid. I mean, let's just take away stature, prestige, all that. Who the hell is going to want to play basketball in Kansas? Who's going to be like a kid from Miami or LA or Detroit or something like that? Yeah, I want to go to Kansas and play basketball. Like, I want to go somewhere where there's a bunch of white people and nothing to do. Like, nobody, well, one, there's a good coach, Bill Self. He's a good coach. But it's like, the Big 12, I mean, they're a top 3, I would say, conference or division when it comes to college basketball.
Yeah, true.
But, follow the money, folks. Like, if they've won the championship, they have players they've paid for, they have shoe deals. I mean, Zion. How much do you think Duke had to pay Zion?
Man, if that story ever breaks, I think that's when Coach K steps down. We're talking 6 figures. These kids are making business decisions when they sign up to go to these institutions and with these schools and with these shoe brands. And again, the coaches, they can play like their nose is in a clipboard and they're just only worried about plays and execution. But these players are definitely maybe not having the conversation with the coach directly in their living rooms, but they're definitely getting a call from a rep from a large shoe brand letting them know, hey, if your mom needs a job, or hey, if you guys are thinking about doing this, then we can make this happen for you. And it's interesting that the FBI had to step in even for the NCAA to investigate. I feel like that's the biggest hoax, is that the NCAA themselves are just so oblivious to all of this that goes down, that keeps their billion-dollar industry running. That's the most ironic part of all this to me.
And let us not forget, there's been multiple scandals. I mean, most recently with the shoe companies, NCAA, Reggie Bush, he had to vacate the Heisman Trophy because they say his mom or family got a job. Cam Newton was caught on phone call saying the money's too much. I got to go to Auburn. I mean, it's like, do we live in a fantasy world? Like, people are like, oh yeah, they go for the edge. No, they don't. They go to get paid. All right, we're gonna end it with the fights. I don't know much about the fights. Sammie, you're probably gonna do it's Spence versus Porter, the World Championship unification. Now I'm just gonna do an eyeball test, and I'm gonna look at Spencer. So who's the taller guy?
So if you're going measurables, you're going to go Errol Spence. He's the longer fighter. He's the taller fighter. He's going to have the reach advantage. Porter's going to have the experience advantage with having close to, I believe, double the fights that Spence has had. But if I'm going with my gut, I'm going to go Spence just off the power this young kid has. The knock against Spence is that he hasn't really faced any competition. He had Mikey Garcia Jr. in his last fight, which was his biggest fight to date, and he was the larger fighter. With Sean Porter, you're going to ask, has he faced anybody with the type of power or with the hunger that Errol Spence has had, even though he has those experienced fights? So one thing that people are going to really enjoy about this contest is it's not going to be dull at all. You have 2 very aggressive fighters who are going to meet at the center of the ring and really exchange blows. So when you pay money to see people fight, that's what you want to see. So I think you're going to get that Saturday night.
Just eyeballing this again, I'm looking at the poster. It's Spence Jr. versus Porter. Porter looks mean. It looks like a guy I would not want to. I mean, I wouldn't want to fight either of them. I mean, like, Porter looks mean. Spence, he kind of looks like a nice guy. Maybe he's that silent assassin type dude. Based on who I don't want to box, I'm gonna say Porter. So I'm gonna say Porter's gonna win. So so Monday, I guess we'll come back with our, who got it right. The guy who knows jack shit about boxing, the guy who knows something about it at all.
Yeah, because I'm definitely taking Spence, so we can definitely recap this and see if any analysis is worth shit, or can you just go with your gut and see what happens?
Loser has to get punched in the face by whoever wins.
Yeah, we'll make that happen.
All right, so yeah, you can tweet me, Garrett W. Savage, my Instagram, Garrett W. Savage. You can email the show, the Sports Savage Show at gmail.com. Sammie's still off the grid, I believe.
Absolutely. So further notice.
Like, what do we got to do? Get like 300 views or like 25 likes on a video, and then you'll get like a Twitter or something like that? Is that what it's going to take? Or?
If that's what the people want, let's set a threshold, and once we reach it, I'll have to get on the Twitter.
Like the videos, comment, Sammie, get a Twitter. But no, all that helps. I think we're up. We think we're up to 8 subscribers now, which hey, you know what? 8 is great.
We could go with Greece.
But yeah, we're gonna keep pumping them out. Sammie, it's always a pleasure. But yeah, that's the show. You got anything else to say?
Peace. See you next time. I am not a crook.
Peace.